us. Giants starting off with the GP ban away and then Italy taken away by Splyce. Going back to that point though, yes, Splyce, or Giants rather, have been a much more solo QS team just because you have all these people that have thrown together so last minute.
Yeah, very thrown together. Aiming some of these bans here at Wunderwear. He obviously has played at Gangplank a couple of times. It wasn't really Gangplank made by Sencux. Sivir banned out. Giants have shown that they don't play it themselves and their opponents do. And they probably checked the solo queue records from Kobbe and seen that he must have been playing some Sivir. And it also fits Kobbe stylistically very well because he's a very I call him like a low econ AD carry, one that doesn't really need the pressure for the ganks, but doesn't really translate to carry either, but he's like a Mr. Raw's light. So he would fit the stereotype of a Sivir player very well. That's maybe why they banned it out, also because Sivir is just really strong on this patch.
Yeah, since we hadn't seen it in LCS, but he's of course probably been playing that on his own. First pickup, of course, is that Poppy locked in, so it immediately shifts over to Splyce on the other side. What do they pick to answer that? It looks like Kalista Gragas.
Yeah, we have a bit of a squeeze in the top lane with that Trundle ban. Obviously, Trundle and Poppy have seen a lot of play recently. Generally ended up in the matchups. Yes, Fiora's there still too, but maybe that comes out for Splyce later on. But banning out the Trundle puts pressure on the Poppy pick, and in the series that Giants had against Copenhagen Wolves, this Poppy pick was there every single game. Giants won the last game with that Poppy pick themselves. Splyce do an answer that we also saw in that series with the Kalista. As we went on towards the end of the Copenhagen Wolves Giants series, Kalista kind of didn't get picked up anymore because the AD carriers failed to translate the power of that pick into an actual advantage, and they kind of went passive even farm, and that is not what you want to do with a Kalista.
We'll definitely keep eyes on Kobbe and see what he's able to do with that champion this game. Over on Giants side, taking their time to pick it up. The Corki was instrumental though in their victory over the Copenhagen Wolves. Also SoNSTAR picking it up because his Azir was constantly banned out. Worth noting, it's not the case today. We could see that come in again. Yeah,
but Corki's just such a great pick on blue side overall because it's one of the best blind pick matchups you can do. The likely answer will in fact be the Azir that you just mentioned because it also just lanes very well into it. But it's still, Corki will still be able to farm. They will fight for push. One of the trademarks of an Azir is that he can just AFK push, you know, put soldiers, hit the wave over and over. At level 6, Corki can equalize that pretty quickly. We see an early Nautilus picked up here too, no longer being flexed. Obviously Poppy and Nautilus could interchange, but it's highly unlikely. Hustlin Beast has shown us a very narrow champion pool, mainly Alistair, Braum and Nautilus focus, 3 melee kind of peel engage supports, so maybe that becomes a weakness throughout the series.
Yeah, a lot of questions on Giants roster. Giants constantly in flux in their roster this entire split long. If they can survive and hold on, making into LCS once again, maybe this will be the roster that finally they move it with. So the Morgana is also locked in on Splyce's side. That's of course Nisbeth.
Yeah, really good answer here from Splyce because they already have the tank component locked into their jungle with also some CC. And then they say, wait, you know what, Hustlin, you play all these champions that are melee who get then obviously pushed in by the range support, but they all have a factor of engage. We will just back shield that. So they're playing Morgana Kalista, a matchup where Morgana can also play a little more aggressive at level 6 because of Fate Skull being available. But you do sacrifice on front line, but you have that with the Gragas. So they have a pretty strong combination of champions here overall.
Yeah, on Giants side too, they're going to round it out with a little bit more poke on their side. The good old SoNSTAR mid Varus that we saw actually on Thursday, but it's a throwback for him, and Elise will be their jungle pick.
So yeah, the flex here, SoNSTAR is going to dodge the Corki Azir matchup, thinks he would take too much harass from the soldiers and really want to outrange that Azir by playing Varus mid and then poke him down.
Makes sense.
It's all a battle of sidestepping. I think Azir still has way more utility overall though. But Giants, they have a really nice 4-1 siege comp with Poppy split push. If they can snowball the Poppy with the Elise overall in the top lane in a good gank, which will be rough. It'll be a rough 2v2, but they have the CC advantage at least. If Poppy wins that split push and the remaining 4 members group mid for siege, they can launch cocoons, dredge lines, and then follow up with massive poke, 1 part physical, 1 part magical. So Giants overall, they have a composition with a plan at least.
It's true. It just really hasn't been the plan that they've been worrying about. It's the execution that we've had to question constantly for Splyce's side with the last lock in that Fiora. Worth noting, Splyce were 2-0 over Giants in the regular split, and both times they did it, Wunderwear had a pretty decent Fiora performance.
Yeah, actually, ironically, Wunderwear, despite we typecasted him as more of a tank, soak up the farm, a lot of his wins in the European LCS came from playing some slightly more carry-oriented champions like a Fiora, sometimes a Gangplank too.
Yeah, when they have had success, you know, they've been able to leverage it. Of course, they've also lost games that he's still been on carry champions and still performed, at least in a score department, admirably. But Splyce, they still have a lot of questions, a lot of weaknesses that they have to address.
We talked a little bit about Giants, how their composition has a clear goal. Splyce ones is a little more tricky. It seems a little more skirmish oriented, perhaps even to look into 1v1, but they only have one teleport. Not too much wave clear either. Like, it takes a while for Azir to walk away if he gets zoned off in the mid lane too. So if Giants get a lead, they could actually snowball it by sieging.
We'll have to see. They definitely have a lot of siege ability. So Yamato Ken and Losark both looking to stay in the LCS. They'll have at least one more chance today. But of course, you know, the picks and bans are all locked in. It's time to hit the rift as we kick off this best-of-5 fight for the summer split.
We're a good team. They're a good team too, but we can definitely win.
Giants punish Rocket at every turn.
Son jugadores que si tienen algo de ventaja juegan muy bien, pero si van por detrás no son tan buenos porque a lo mejor psicológicamente tiltean o no sé.
Sencux looking for the kill, won't be able to find it, and Sencux is out in this one.
We will just prepare like we do any other week, and we will just try our best and show what we can do.
And we're on the rift. So we saw Giants go all the way to 5 games against the Copenhagen Doggies back in Thursday. Let's see if it happens again. Splyce, definitely a tough opponent. Just narrowly missing out on that safe 7th place spot, really.
Yeah, Splyce obviously in the regular split did a little bit better.
Oh, we got to pause.
Got to pause.
All right. What a start to the day.
No Dolga here, but we still have pause.
Ooh.
That's the only one.
That was good.
We're done. We're done.
I was,
the only
you know, I wasn't seeing that one coming. All right, it looks like we got a mouse issue for xPePii. We'll be taking a look at that as we go along. But let's analyze these compositions since we only had a little bit of time in the pick ban.
Yeah, that's the good thing about a pause. You know, we get to talk and predict more and hopefully be right. Shamefully be wrong. Let's look at some of these matchups. In the bot lane, provided it's standard 2v2, we have SONSTAR and Hustlin playing Corki and Nautilus, going up against Kobbe and Nisbeth on the Morgana Kalista lane. That should be a win. The only way Corki and Nautilus really beat that is if they connect some CC, but well-played Black Shield timing should be able to prevent that, so that should be push advantage. Usually when you analyze team comps in the early game, you go through the check marks of every lane, who pushes whom, and then it's tricky to decide in the top lane. I feel like Poppy will have a little bit more control early on the side of Giants. And I imagine Azir can actually push in Varus for a longer time, because if he aims his Q at clearing the waves, he will eat too much counter harass. Yeah. And if he aims for the Azir and Azir sidesteps, he will always have the push, so it should be 2 pushing lanes here for Splyce.
I really want to pay special attention to this mid lane matchup because on one hand we've got Pepi, who for much of the split had a really hard time stepping back into his carry form, finding his feet yet again. And he's only recently done that in the last couple of days of the split, last couple of weeks of the split. He played like 3 Azir games in a row and he got progressively better. Then of course he really stepped up in the Copenhagen Wolves series on Thursday. But then you've got Sencux on the other side, who's a guy that came in incredibly hyped, also had a lot of trouble finding his feet, but he could have breakout performances. On a great day, these two are incredible mid laners.
Yeah, well, they were hyped up to be, but I think everybody else around them progressed more.
That's just EU, right? Good mid laners.
Yeah, good mid laners overall. I think Sencux initially in the early start of summer splits, and here we see the lane pattern kind of explained for us. Put the soldier down, whack away, AFK shove, and hopefully save one soldier to dash out if you get engaged on. But yeah, Sencux as a player, he seemed to be more killy-oriented than CS-oriented, and that kind of punished him in the mid-game as well, because Splyce took away a lot of farm from him overall, whereas xPePii, I just think there was not much progression in his play.
So Giants seem to be a little taken aback by the Splyce lane swap up in the top side. It does change things a little bit as Hustlin tries to stop Trashy and Wunderwear from timely completing their blue. And Smitty dodges away from the Dark Binding. Nisbeth trying to harass on the other side. So how does this change up the early game plan? Yeah,
complete mirror here on both sides. Both supports helped on the camp and then went for the invade. They want to annoy. If you look at the one thing you have to look at here for lane swap, as Hustlin tries to steal that wolf here, is obviously a word we overuse. It's tempo. And actually, the tempo advantage is on the side of Giants if they lane swap, because they have a Corki with QE, Hustling with his Riptide that he can spam, and then Poppy Q that can be spammed on a wave. So the wave will disappear immediately whenever Giants just as much as look at it. Whereas Splyce, they have single target damage and all attacks from Kalista that don't do anything to the wave. They have a bind level 1 Morgana who will not have pool. and they have Fiora, who can't AoE either. So they're very slow at killing the wave, which costs them more time. However, they started earlier on this turret, which may equalize it out.
Yeah. Splyce, burning that teleport on Wunderwear very quickly, but in this early game, when you get so much cooldown back anyways, it won't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, look at it right here. These minions, they're now attacking the creeps. Look at how long it takes for Splyce to deal with these creeps. These are extra 5, 6, 7 seconds that Giants don't have to spend because they just annihilate the wave with their AoE abilities. If they tank it though, nobody here is tanking the minions from Giants. This is a mistake. If you let the melee minions walk in, then obviously your minions will start fighting the enemy minions and no longer hit the tower. It goes against the entire purpose of using your abilities to clear the wave. But despite, again, Splyce starting this a lot earlier and being earlier on the turret, the fact that Giants can catch up in the tempo and not steal a tower kill here means they finish it equally, but there's a bigger freeze on the side of Giants rather.
Yeah. Well, by the composition, by the fact that they were able to react to that, they were able to equalize it. But as you pointed out, some mistakes being made, not allowing the minions to tank the way that they needed to, and this is what we've questioned Giants for this entire split, just not understanding a lot of the basics of what they need to do in the advanced meta.
This was a little more than a basic tricky here. Here we see the bot lane coming in, getting pinged out, so SmittyJ, he wants to base. Could have maybe gotten a few extra creeps for himself, so he needs to get the hell out of dodge. And now we see phase 2 of the lane swap, complete mirror. You go force the top laner off that farm, and the sooner you do that, obviously the quicker you have the tempo control. So now Wunderwear is allowed to farm a tiny bit extra, but they stay bang on even on CS, and so far it's a complete mirror.
Yeah, so everyone is equal, but as you said, the tools were there for Giants to do things a little bit earlier. I feel like this equalization really favors Splyce, since they're looking towards that pretty late game power spike too. Take a look as they swap around to the bottom side. So Nisbeth, Kobbe, they're going to be soloing or duoing on that bottom side. Still very, very slow with the early game Kalista, but they'll be pumping gold into their pockets as they go.
Wunder's behind though. Look where Wunderwear is on the map right now. So if Giants get this tower relatively quickly, Hustlin, you need to tank the creeps right now. Keep them away from the tower, and then they can use their abilities on the creeps. If they can bounce this wave quick enough, take the Rift Herald, and then set up the next push, Giants may actually be winning the lane swap, because it goes so slow here on the bottom side for Splyce, because Wunderwear is so late to the party and has already burned his teleport somewhere too.
Yeah, he has taken quite a lot of time, and he was so quick on the teleport before, but without having it available again, takes a long, long walk. Meanwhile, Trashy looks to make some action happen, but Skirmishes immediately ghosts into the brush, and that will mean Trashy will just try for the counter jungling instead. Too bad for him. The cupboard is bare down there.
Tower falls here, Wunderwear gets the freeze. Complete mirror at the other side. And Wizard can obviously start that Herald and solo it since he is Elise. Solo it for a while. He will need Hustlin to step in here. Getting dangerously low though, and that Rift Herald likes turning around randomly, so
like that.
Help the tank.
There you go. Get the smite down. They'll take it. Still, Wisdom will have to back. SONSTAR is the one who gets the buff.
Yeah, right now, yeah, that's what you want. You could put it on the jungle and have him buff the creeps when he joins for the push later. So right now, Giants, they should base in their bot lane bot again and stack up a massive wave aimed at that tier 2 bot tower. That's what I want to do, because they mirrored everything, but because they had slightly better champions in terms of tempo-wise, they're equal plus a Herald buff. And that's now where they need to get the advantage of. The payoff is in the end of the play with that Herald buff.
We've critiqued Giants for not being able to execute these lane swaps really well. I mean, this definitely looks like it's an improving team.
This is a good lane swap from Giants so far.
Yeah, maybe they finally found the special sauce to come together, play a little bit better.
Or watch spots.
Maybe.
The answer is out there. You know, when color casters understand the dynamics or seemingly understand the dynamics of a lane swap on a high level, that means the teams should always be ahead of the casters. So we were waiting for Europe to kind of, come on guys, figure it out. It's not that hard. If Krepo and the Fish Show can do it.
You guys been giving lectures on the weekends?
Oh, I've actually whined to every pro though.
There you go. Kobbe and Trashy are going to keep on going. Let's take a look at that fan vote. There is a massive, massive one in favor of Giants right now. It's 3 out of every 4 people voting. And that is pretty significant. Giants still have a pretty solid fan base on their side, but Splyce, newer team to the LCS, still we would expect to be the favorites. But right now, hard to tell. The Giants mirroring just about perfectly everything that Splyce is trying to do.
Yeah, mirror plus Herald buff though. Tower goes down a little quicker though, but the next wave...
has been destroyed.
Oh, Giants, they're not pushing on. This is interesting. They're just choosing to base. I think they could have pushed on with that Herald buff.
We got a good old game of chicken here. An inhibitor turret starting to go down. It's not even 8 minutes yet into the game. Kobbe and Nisbeth keep on pecking away, and they'll get it down to half health. SONSTAR having to dodge away from the Dark Binding.
This could have actually turned into an inhibitor race. If both teams wanted to opt into it with the Herald buff, I think Giants could have maybe made that work. But Splyce, yeah, they get a little bit of extra chip damage on that tower, doesn't matter, it will regen. So again, it's a complete mirror so far. We need to look at farms and gold distribution, and the only matchup that is slightly ahead here is Sencux versus his lane opponent, xPePii.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of, as you said, AFK pushability with the Azir soldiers, and he dashes forward just try to keep chasing Peppy back, take a little bit of poke, but he answers in kind. I feel like letting the Rift Herald buff, though, dissipate, forcing them to back, I mean, that was a really good move from Splyce to say, okay, we know we can race this, we'll probably lose, but if we force them to back, if we make them call our bluff, you know, they get chip damage, and then they don't lose anything for it.
You know, Splyce made the correct decision overall. I'm just going to check that buff actually time out. I felt like they had a little bit more on that buff to raise. Yeah, the buff didn't dissipate, so SONSTAR had the buff available to go for the init push. It would have been tricky. I think it would have ended up in a full-on init trade, and Giants as a team, they're not really flexible when it comes to macro. They're very rigid, so they know some of the basic first steps, but then inflexibility, obviously, if you're a newer roster, you have a hard time adapting to these unfamiliar situations, especially with limited communication. It is probably the best call to then back and defend.
Yeah, I'm playing a little bit more conservatively. Remember, they had such an insane series on Thursday that they probably don't want a repeat of that one if they can get themselves some safe wins and secure their spot in the summer split of the LCS. I'm sure they won't be complaining about that.
Yeah, but can they, though? Like, maybe they should take some risks here, because if you play safe versus safe, Splyce's experience and just better individual players may come to bite you in the butt if you're Giants.
That's very true. And something worth thinking about as the game goes on. It still could be a very long series as SONSTAR races to the bottom side to pick up the farm and has already picked up the package.
Missed the CS.
Unlucky.
Koreans should never miss CS.
Only Koreans. Wisdom gets caught here. Oh, he could be the first blood. He has to burn his flash, and there's the big barrel to knock the spider back. And no splat just yet. Finally delayed as Trashy picks it up.
I mean, Wisdom. That's a bold face check. Just blindly checking into the enemy jungle there. Well, that's actually little rewards. That's even worse. There's so many wards already in that jungle from Giants. You know your AD carry support are heading to the bot lane. So in the mirror, you can expect at least enemy jungler or support to be in one of these rushes. And frankly, just no respect from Wisdom. Could have flashed earlier. Maybe use this repel somewhere to at least dodge some of that damage, but he just face check and dies.
It's not the first time we've seen Wisdom disrespect in the Copenhagen Wolves series. He stood there, started recalling under tower, and look what happened. He got taken out by the Ardent Blaze, something we rarely ever see. For Splyce on their side, starting to push down a little bit more. Giants will be able to secure this dragon, though, for themselves. It's not being seen just yet. With Wisdom coming to the party,
yeah,
it's a blind spot.
The control of the map here is Giants taking bot side and Splyce taking top side, and that reflects obviously in the dragon here. But if you take a quick peek at the CS in the top lane, 25 differential, so double CS here for Wunderwear. There obviously will be some extra CS hidden in that wave here, but that's all about 8 or 9, and it's not going to make up the difference here. So Giants focus on the bottom side of the map is costing SmittyJ, one of their stronger members, a CS lead at least.
Smitty, a stranger to playing Azor against the Fiora. We saw some excellent play out of him in the first games he was playing with Giants. But Wunderwear, you know, as we've said, has been able to step up in key situations. Not all the time, not frequently, but when they've had good games on the side of Splyce, he's been a big part of it.
He's known to step up. I mean, once in a while.
I had to backtrack pretty fast on that one, but no, you know what I mean. When he's on point,
yeah,
the whole team is.
He can carry. There's this one distinct game where he was really illustrating Hook City on his Nautilus that I really was a big fan of. A couple other performances. He has plenty of lackluster performances too. But overall, he really only gets exposed for me when he plays against players far better than him. And if we were being honest, none of them are in Giants' roster. So he should be able to be absolutely fine in this game.
Yeah. Not too worried about what he'll be able to do. And the rest of this team, you know, a lot of talented players. We just haven't seen them all start stepping up. I feel like very recently, maybe Kobbe, you could argue that he started to improve and make himself more visible on the map. For a while, it was pretty much Sencux or bust.
Yeah, Kobbe for me is still invisible. I don't remember a single player I'm like, damn you, Kobbe, such a good player. Really, I played him, but fills his role.
Can. Smitty, oh, that big old wind-up, but they jump right in onto him. Wrong neighborhood, even though it's in his own base. Wunderwear's pulled back with the hook and knocked off with the depth charge, but the rest of the team is there to help defend. Trashy knocking Hustlin back into them. Wisdom trying to help defend this turret, but it is almost done. Oh, flash away. Okay, Kobbe exhausted, has to bail out. Very, very low here. The piercing arrow not going to find any damage, but the change will, and the hail comes in. Now Wisdom takes out Kobbe. Trashy should be the next, but the rest of Splyce are here, and xPePii trying to be the hero. A double kill for the Spider Queen. See if they can get any more on this one. Still chasing down, forcing flashes from Splyce, just checking way too deep, and a teleport up to the top. They're buying even more time to kill that inhibitor turret. Double kill, though, comes out for Sencux, and they turn it around, but they might lose their turret, and they might just lose an inhibitor.
Dios mio! The game wakes up into chaos. What the hell just happened there?
All of a sudden, things blew up.
Yeah, we need to look at this. This is like, okay. SmittyJ starts swinging, and then Wunderwear goes like, oi, Poppy, you get reposted. He gets stunned, Gragas gets knocked out. Here I think Splyce should return fire on the tower, sacrifice Wunderwear, get the tower and disengage. Because look at how much they invest into defending Wunderwear here overall, when they could have taken down the tower first.
Kobbe tanked so much of it too.
Yeah, Kobbe tanked a little bit too. Obviously switching the aggro. Here, good flank from xPePii. Keep eyes on him, so he's gonna draw aggro here from the Morgana. Going at him. Nisbeth misses bind and knockup. That's really big, otherwise Sencux could have given xPePii there. xPePii flashes out, this is good. At this point, chasing into a kiting Azir is risky. He is low on mana, there's no cocoon here. With the turn here, 1, 2, 3, boom onto Wisdom. Soldier starts spamming, and then Wunderwear can go in with a good repost overall. But it obviously is distracting everybody because in the top lane, SONSTAR and SmittyJ are whacking away, and they do get that tower. Overall, somewhat equal trade. The tower advantage for Giants. Splyce still have more gold because they killed more people.
Yeah, he needs to farm minions and he can farm up champs, but you gotta be careful not to lose too many towers. Speaking of, this outer is going to go very low and go down, but Trashy's caught up by the chains. Nisbeth as well, and SONSTAR slays him. Chasing him all the way back from the tower. SONSTAR gonna valk back to safety as they will be able to secure this outer after taking an inhibitor in the top.
And that's
inhibitor turret, I should say.
That's Giants' strength. This is what we talk about in Champs League Siege composition. When the four do get to group, they have poke magic, poke physical, Varus and Corki, with two champions that can provide extra CC that can follow up on that Varus ultimate. Once the Chain of Corruption hits, it's a very easy dredge line, it's very easy poke, it's a very easy cocoon.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened there.
It's just why it's so key. Let's take a look at how it all started again with Nisbeth and Trashy getting caught. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, really good opening. When you're sieging, obviously when people want to defend towers, they operate under very standard or obvious movement patterns. They walk towards the tower and walk towards the minion creeps to kind of get the wave down. Obviously, if they walk forward into a skill shot, they're gonna die.
Yep. We talked gold between these two teams, and obviously it's not huge, about 1,000 at 15, 16 minutes into the game, but let's see what it's buying our guys. You can see for xPePii's side, he's still stacking the tier to look towards his Muramana completion. And first items on the top laners. Wunderwear, you saw him working towards the Titanic Hydra, picks up the Phage after, and you know, SmittyJ is relying fairly heavily on that armor, but it won't help him when Sencux comes to call.
I mean, it will help him a little bit. It looks like he's going for a Frozen Heart, so he wants to slow down the attack speed once he gets on top of Sencux. Poppy will obviously leave very little room for Sencux to actually auto-attack him, because he's going to E in, try and stun him into a wall. If he doesn't, he will pop his W, and then he can deny all these dashes, because that steadfast presence is so good against some of these Azir dashes when he tries to get out. So he's pretty much forced to flash out of that Sencux or ulti the Poppy away.
That's one of the reasons it was still considered for that first pick ability, and makes a lot of sense to be picking that one up. I did talk about the mid lane matchup being a really, really exciting one, but I feel like, yeah, it's kind of underrated, almost taking a look at Wunderwear and SmittyJ. With the lane swap, we didn't really get to see the Mortal Kombat, but maybe as the game goes on.
I mean, the mid lane is exciting if Sencux goes for some fancy shuffle footwork. If they just both up to farm, it's just a slight edge on who pressures whom. But that's about it. But that's sadly what a lot of these lanes get reduced to, because these players are good enough to avoid death in a 1v1 scenario.
That's true. But I know Sencux has the YOLO inside of him.
Maybe that excites
come
you.
out.
Are you? Is that what you really like seeing? Minions and pressure
yes,
overall?
all the time.
Is that what you look at bot and like you see minions fight each other?
That's why I watch. That's why I watch Korea.
Well, the LCK, the Aran Fiesta in the mid lane. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Don't watch LCK at all, because it may be your heart may be a little bit too frail, because the chaos may actually put you in cardiac arrest.
Okay, we'll have to wait on that one. Meanwhile, back here in Europe, I mean, this has been already a fairly action-packed game, despite the crazy back and forth lane swaps that we expect to have like a lot of non-aggression. Then both the teams overstep their bounds, turn on each other.
Yeah.
And it is arguably a lot more mistakes being made.
It was a mirror. It was a mirror. Aggression in Europe comes seemingly from mistakes getting punished. Like, wow, Krepo. Yeah.
Go figure.
Go figure. But it is like in a lane swap. It only take the only time you will see people fight each other is if one team kind of screws up or gets greedy. We saw that here. Other than that, we saw a good mirror. But I'm glad to see that even promotion tournament, we're seeing some decently standard or high tier lane swaps.
Yeah, I mean, teams are starting to level up all across the board now. With the Rift Herald buff, Giants looking to push in this inner. Sencux is here to defend. Wunderwear coming around the side. There's a flank being set up, and Giants know all about it. Hustlin, he dredges way the wrong way, but the chains come down. Meanwhile, and Giants getting knocked left, right, and center. It's Wisdom that's bopped into the team, and SmittyJ gets the knock up on the hammer, but they're not done just yet. Giants are starting to evaporate. Wisdom and Hustlin already down. SONSTAR taken out by Wunderwear, and just like that, it's a 3-for-1.
Yeah, Sencux absolutely massive with the hoop and scoop in that fight, and Giants, obviously the weakness of a poke competition is that you can't fight immediately if you get flanked on. They could have opted out, but they actually opted to the fight. Here, they need to disengage. Hustlin's like, no, I like that wall. I want to see it from a little closer. At that point, Nisbeth throws himself in. And at that point, Giants is just CC'd long enough for Sencux to turn it around. Look at it. Whoop! And cancels the Valkyrie. That was phenomenal play from Sencux overall.
Yeah. Worst part about that for Giants, though, they had an escape route through the jungle, and they opted to go through the lane and still got flanked. Sencux will answer with the tower now here, and things are starting to look up for Splyce, and these are the characteristic mistakes that we saw from Giants, even with their older roster.
Only 600 gold down, though, and that could be enough of a lesson to learn. Keep your distance, mind the gap when you play.
Good advice.
Also, when you take the tube in London.
I've ridden a lot of trains all over the place at this point. They every language.
Every language. Hopefully in Spanish, Pepinero, Korean. Koreans that
Did you say mind the gap in Korean?
I don't know how.
That's like super high level at that point.
I know beer. I know beer. That's about the only thing.
It's a useful phrase. Useful word to know.
I know hello, how are you, thank you, and beer. That's all I know. Anyways, they need to keep the distance if they're poking. They need to whittle the opponent down so they're vulnerable enough that they can strike. That's the entire game plan. Or catch a single guy that is defending too far forward, the Giants. For Splyce, they need to do exactly what they did. Don't defend the tower because you don't have the wave clear. You need to flank, hard engage, and hopefully have disruption enough to punish the Giants.
Yeah, they've got a lot of fighting ability too. I mean, you take a look at Wunderwear, 204 on this Fiora right now, and he's been pretty instrumental in finishing off those kills and getting the chase downs. He's become Fiora, and that is a worrying sign for Giants, who are trying to avoid as much as possible.
There is the QSS finish, at least in SmittyJ, so you can get rid of the ultimate, but I think there's too much just raw damage here on the side of Fiora.
Pepi still trying to stack up that mana mune too. He's only 500 stacks on it. Trashy gets caught by Chains of Corruption. Pepi goes for a chase. If he gets the big piercing arrow, hits Kobbe, but they manage to smite away the red buff all the same. So Trashy walks out with it. Meanwhile, up in the top side, still some trouble. Sencux in the mid is going to dash out and be safe.
Let's watch this matchup here. How much damage is Wunderwear doing? The problem is with this Fiora build is that you obviously can't switch to Ravenous anymore. So what you used to do is you whack away at the Poppy, take damage, and then you hit the minion wave twice, and suddenly you're full HP. Wunderwear has some lifesteal and regen, but he needs to be very careful to really get used to that, because obviously Titanic Hydra doesn't offer that very much. A little bit of extra heat regen, that's about it. So he only really gets it.
Still no boots. He's walking fast though.
Yeah. Well, Fiora is nimble enough to fight.
Oh yeah.
Way out of things. Worst case, you get a bit close to slow somebody down.
Kobbe's Ren stack's starting to get real heavy there. When they start contesting objectives, be really key for them, and they have a lot of damage output on their side. Pepi and Hustlin still here in the mid lane, I should say. A lot of wards being invested for both teams around the Baron pit, but it's very early. Wouldn't expect either team to try and start something off like that. We have seen a lot of disasters begin with the big purple worm pretty much everywhere this year, but of course in Europe, as is a specialty. Investing a lot of time into try and clear those wards away. Heavy amounts of movement on the top side. Splyce want to keep tabs on Giants and make sure they're stuck back as far as they can. They really only possess about the 40% of the map. This war of attrition, they're slowly losing at the minute, but we know that Giants can turn fights if Splyce step too far outside of their own safety zone. With the Dragon coming up in another couple minutes too. We're on 1-1. Obviously, this could be a very long game, but ever since a few buffs have come in, Dragon 5 has started to be looked at as more of a realistic objective and not just a pipe dream.
Yeah, Dragon 5 is something you can look at, but that's too far off for this game. I think it'll come down to Baron baits. Obviously, Giants, once they get pressured into their base, Splyce can turn on the vision denial and punish. It's incredibly hard to face against this roster.
Oh boy, xPePii is out of there. Wunderwear gets the kill credit on that one, and he is still causing havoc in the back. Flashing forward, Smitty tries to finish him off, but exhausted immediately, and he doesn't get away. The Foss bomb from SONSTAR equalizes, so it's a 1-1. In goes Smitty, but he's not gonna last for long. Sencux says no, knocking him back. It's a 1 for 2 in favor of Splyce.
Yeah, Giants equalize the fight, and then SmittyJ dashes in and suicide. So seem to have issues with really judging these team fights. And Splyce again, they open with a flank. They don't all come from the same side. They really find and want to connect. The good thing here is that Black Shield was obviously used on the engaging member. Watch this again. Trashy comes from one side and the Fiora dashes from the other. And then, yeah, he flashes with xPePii. And honestly, he should just have flash ready the second he sees Gragas approaching with a Black Shield. The math isn't that hard, you know. 1 + 1, 1 Gragas, 1 Black Shield means you have flash that you will die if you don't get out of there. So again, Giants are not respecting the distance, and Splyce are punishing them for it.
Yeah, nimble fingers on the side of Splyce too. I mean, that was over for xPePii in the blink of an eye, and they targeted their man, took him out. Really, really hefty damage on this team. 24 minutes is the game time right now. Dragon is coming up. Splyce had backed after that, so they are a little bit out of position to try for this Dragon. Feel like they might be able to contest it, though, if it does get started up by Giants. 2K gold separating these two teams. Giants are going for it. Splyce are not responding.
Yeah, Splyce are hesitating. Do we stop it? Can we bait the Baron? Then they realize they actually haven't cleared too much vision. So they're going to walk around and trade that entire Dragon for some vision denial. And then they decide that they need to push topside in. But then their mid lane is exposed, so they're kind of trailing on the play here.
Whoa! Sencux, oh no! He's caught in a real bad spot.
And
Emperor's Divide burned and everything.
Complete disarray here from Splyce. They're looking at the map and kind of figuring out what do we do now, and that's the wrong thing when you're shot calling. Your plan needs to lay it out 30 seconds, 1 minute in advance. And Giants, they see the opportunity and they seize it. Immediate aggression here. Good aggressive package usage from SONSTAR into the enemy jungle and breaks a lot of momentum here for Splyce.
Kobbe turret sees that objective. They do grab it. Now they gravitate towards the Baron. They're just going to immediately start it. Pink ward down. They know there's no vision, but Splyce has to know something's up. A lot of damage being dealt, but they will be fighting against both Trashy and Kobbe. Teleport coming in. It's Wunderwear around the backside. Giants, they're still in the pit. The chains don't land, and Trashy goes in, but it's too late to secure the Baron. Wisdom getting that one. Trashy's fallen. Grand challenge on xPePii. He's not down just yet. Heal comes in with the Baron buff. They're staying alive, and Wunder is sacrificed in the back. 2 kills for 0, and Giants Gaming have come up big.
Yeah, Giants, they claimed 3 kills in total here. On top of that initial pick that they got onto Sencux. Immediate Baron power play, skyrocketing to 3,000 already. Look at this again. Chain of Corruptions here. Early Black Shield goes onto Trashy, despite Wunderwear being the target here for Chain of Corruption. So he goes in alone, and that means it's a 50-50 smite, but the resulting fight will always be in favor of Giants. So this is a fantastic call. 0 hesitation. Honestly surprised to see this made from Giants, and they have made progression.
Yeah.
From the last 2 weeks when we saw them in the LCS to then the promotion tournament even 2 days ago, and now they are continuously progressing in their play.
It seems that some of the changes they have made started to net results for them. We had a lot of questions, communication. What were they going to be able to do? But I mean, that was clear and crisp. They went, and they went all together. On Splyce's side, the team that speaks 2 languages the same, all Danes were really hesitant there before the play was even set up, and then Trashy YOLOs in, and he panics.
They thought they were playing in full control, lulled into a false sense of security because they were playing maybe just Giants, and then now Giants have Baron with a poke up, and poke ups love Baron because the minions are getting cleared even slower, so you have more time to poke over and over again.
Smitty, they're going in, and they grab themselves Trashy on the back. Wunderwear's got a flash back into his own fountain. Sencux taking a lot of poke, trying to go in. Gets a 4-man Shurima shuffle, but it wasn't going to be enough in the first place. Giants just clean house. Only Wunder remaining. 2 inhibitors down. Hey, that won't be for long. He gets a grand challenge out, gets a triple kill. Either it's xPePii that gets that one, and now the Nexus turrets are going to fall. Giants are going to take this one.
Adios, amigo. This is game 1 going to Giants.
And that is all for game number 1. 27 minutes in, capitalizing on mistakes. Giants looking in fantastic form to open this day. 2 more wins, and they're on their way back to the LCS.
All right, nobody make any movements towards the camera stating how many games they have left to win in this series. Avoid that at all costs. xPePii, something we haven't really seen too much from him. A smile on his face.
And a smile, signs of relief. And very, very good reason to feel that way right now. This is one of the best games we have seen from Giants in quite some time.
Yeah.
Even including the series on Thursday. I mean, it was back and forth, a lot of mistakes, a lot of characteristic ones. Some signs of improvement, but this was clean.
The lane swap is the biggest thing because they managed to not screw up.
Yeah.
4 towers in a row, which is honestly for me for Giants, and I have a pretty I have a dark view of some teams, and I was surprised.
A high quality bar, Krepo.
Yeah, high quality bar, but they played the lane swap well. They picked up the Herald. They were a little slower. That's something I would rewatch. Is where did they lose the tempo when they picked up the Herald? How were they slower to that tier 2 tower? Could they have pushed down for an inhib trade? But those are minor decisions that even when I want to evaluate, or when we want to evaluate them rather, we would have to watch it again. And they made that split-second call in the game. Let's not go for any fancy stuff. Defend our inhib tower. That didn't matter in the end because that tower regen back to full HP. And then they started playing to the strength of their composition at times, using that poke. They overstepped, but it's normal. Sometimes you will disrespect your opponent in terms of distance.
It's hard to play poke comp properly too all the time.
Yeah, it's actually not that easy to play that, and Giants did that at multiple points. And then the Baron call was crisp. Good play from Giants overall, and Splyce need to work on their game plan. They need at all times need to know what they will do in the next 30 seconds, 1 minute and 2 minutes. Otherwise, Giants may surprise.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Splyce will pick up the pieces there, but we're going to send it to the analyst desk to break down Giants' Game 1 victory.